Of course it would decide to come back today, of all days. Any foggy day is fair game, but today, if it was smart enough to keep track of time, I'd say it was mocking me. It would have been easy to stay home that day, maybe do something useful, help pond the fields, or hang the washing up to dry like Ma asked. But the sun was so warm and inviting. A perfect summer day like that couldn't be wasted. But even then, there's a million other things a kid could have done in a farm bathed in sunshine. Plenty of places I could have gone. Of course, they told us to stay out of the woods, but I always sneaked out, and they never stopped me. I thought Ma was paranoid. Who ever heard of people disappearing in those woods? That's the kind of stuff you hear in children's books. Pa gave that indifferent, listen to your mother nod whenever Ma brought it up, probably too busy to care what she was lecturing me about. Despite it all, I figured this is real life, not some fairy tale. There's nothing but critters and mischief out there. What really sent me into the woods that day was naivete, bravery, and a girl named Caroline. Even after thinking about it all these years, I can't quite put my finger on the moment things went wrong. Maybe I just wasn't alert or observant enough. Milo sure was, though. Good old boy. His walk got more and more tense, and he started growling. He always did that when meeting new people, so it was easy to dismiss. By that time, we were getting pretty deep into the woods, and I expected her to pop out from behind a tree at any second. She was definitely nearby, but I couldn't find her. And then she started calling my name, asking me to find her.
Jackson, here! Jackson, come!
Her voice was muffled, staticky, or maybe she was just further away from the spot where we said we'd meet. She wasn't as familiar with the woods as I was, so I started to worry that she'd gotten lost, even though she didn't sound scared. I arrived at the meeting spot, an old stump that kinda looked like it had a face carved into it. The woods were darker, the trees much taller and more dense, and there seemed to be fewer creatures around. It was quiet. No bird calls or squirrels scurrying up and down the tree trunks. I called to her a few times, but she just kept calling for me to come. Milo was still on edge, and I was starting to feel tense too. That could have been when things went wrong. After a few minutes, I was worried that she had hurt herself and needed my help, so I went off in the direction of her voice, deeper into the woods. I called to her over and over, getting more concerned with every passing minute. The tree trunks were immense, and I can't say that the tales of people disappearing at the hands of a forest-dwelling monster didn't cross my mind. In my head, I was preparing a speech to recite for Caroline when I found her. Something about sending me on a wild goose chase through the woods and making me worry about her. She sounded like she was nearby, but something about her voice was freaking me out. I thought about turning back and calling it quits, but I felt like I was getting close. Then Milo started barking the loudest I'd ever heard him, and darted back and forth around me. I panicked and backed up too quickly, tripping over a root and falling. A sharp pain shot up my leg. From the forest floor, I looked up at the canopy, and my jaw dropped. Standing at least 40 feet tall was the nastiest combination of man and machine I'd ever seen. Its arms and legs were so thin, I could see the outlines of veins and bones beneath the skin. There wasn't a bit of flesh on its torso either. It looked like a vacuum-sealed skeleton. But the creepiest part was its head, or lack of a head. Atop its neck were a pair of sirens, facing in opposite directions. No eyes or ears, but it did have mouths inside those sirens. And as I looked up at it, completely in shock, it turned down towards me and opened its mouths.
Jackson.
I scrambled to my feet and ran with all the strength I had. Milo bulked by my side, just as afraid as I was, hearing the deafening sounds of trees cracking around me, their enormous trunks splintering and crashing to the ground. That's when the siren started blaring from the creature's head. My muscles burned and my lungs screamed for air as I burst into the clearing of our east field. Ma was standing by the truck on the far side, her mouth open in disbelief. I'm sure she could have felt the ground shaking from a mile away. Pa was already running towards me with a shotgun, but as he saw the horror that came behind me, he stopped dead in his tracks. Eyes wide, he pointed to the entrance to the tornado shelter built under the house. I didn't think that was going to be enough to keep us safe from this behemoth, but my body was giving out. The pain in my leg from falling in the woods was growing with every stride. I put everything I had into that last stretch of my sprint to the shelter. Milo managed to keep pace, and Pa ran ahead to unbolt the door. Ma broke out of a trance and scrambled towards the shelter too. The sirens blared on, though ironically there was no tornado. The door flew open and Pa dove inside. Milo leaped in ahead of me, and I stumbled in a few seconds later. It took a few beats for me to realize Ma hadn't come stumbling through the door behind me. She was running as quickly as she could manage, wild eyes staring right into mine, screaming the whole way. But the thing was faster than her. Its final step toward her shook the ground so intensely, I thought the house was going to come down on top of us. She was knocked off her feet, and its massive hand came down on top of her. I looked away, but Pa was transfixed. I'd never seen such helplessness and pain on his face. Ma cried out my name as it lifted her up, then turned to walk back towards the woods. We couldn't do anything but watch.
Jackson, come.
Milo, come on. We got an old score to settle. There hasn't been a day in my life I haven't thought about that morning. Thought about that thing. How it ruined our family. Ruined our lives. I've mourned Ma every day, and never even knew what happened to her. How she might have died. Whether it tortured her or not, or if it just kept her prisoner somewhere. I lost Pa that day too. He blamed me for the whole mess, started drinking, and eventually left. All these years, it's been just you and me, Milo. And now we're going to finish this. Wherever you've been all these years, I'm sure you've only hurt people, taken others who were loved, torn families apart. I bet nobody's tried hunting you the way you hunt people, though. And I bet I'm one of the only ones who ever got away from you. You know what that means? I know you, and I've got nothing left to lose. I hope you're ready to meet your maker, Siren Head.
Jackson, come.
You took my mother. You took Caroline. How many other voices have you stolen, freak? Milo. Come, Milo.
It's about time. I've been wondering if you were gonna wake up at all.
Where am I? How did I get here?
I imagine the same way I did. Him.
Right. I guess I never considered it had a gender. It was always just this thing. This monster.
The name's Charlotte. And if it's any consolation, I'm sorry your luck has brought you here.
My name's Jackson. Same to you.
What's your story? Clearly you already know about the Siren Head. Have you had run-ins with him before?
You could say that. He took my mom. I'll admit I've never fully recovered. I mean, I went after the guy with just an axe and a shotgun. How nutty must I have been? Every night for years, when I laid my head down, it wasn't the swaying of the wheat, or the chirp of the crickets I heard. It was the distorted, muffled voice of my mother speaking to me. It was Siren Head.
Wow, that all sounds really rough. I know you probably heard it from everyone close to you, but it isn't your fault, Jackson.
Oh, I know it isn't my fault. It's his. Now tell me, how did you find yourself down here?
Mine might not be as tragic as yours, but it is complicated, to say the least. In my former life, I was a doctor. Well, at least I was training to be one. When it all began, I was simply a resident, under the tutelage of the master surgeon, Dr. Vincent Henderson. God, did I respect that man. There was no problem he couldn't fix, big or small. Man, if he wasn't set on fixing everything he could. Luckily, I felt the same way. I thought the two of us could change the world. I would have followed him to the end of the earth. Sometimes, it feels like I did. About 2 years into my residency, he became extremely focused on philanthropic aid. We started taking trips to hospitals in more impoverished areas, volunteering entire weekends at a time. He kept pushing me harder, saying that we needed to do more. It was our civic duty. I was constantly exhausted. I couldn't catch a break. If it was anybody else, I would have given up and found a new surgeon to study under, but he was so inspiring. I pushed through so much exhaustion and pain for him and for the people we were helping. Invariably, there were patients that we could do nothing for. Either we were too late or they were too sick. Over time, I started to become accustomed to death, as most doctors do. But Vincent took it hard every single time. He said it felt like he personally failed them. One night, we were closing up his practice, and he pulled a bottle of gin out of his desk drawer, told me I could stay for a drink if I'd like, and of course I did. As the night went on, he got more and more distraught, going on his usual tirade, berating himself for not doing enough. He said that every patient who died in his care was a life that he'd wasted. That stuck out to me. He never said that before. So I tried consoling him, saying that it wasn't up to him what they did with their lives. Then he looked at me intensely and said, "Maybe not, but there is something we can do with their deaths." He had me follow him into an exam room at the back of the practice, pushed a floor-to-ceiling storage cabinet aside to reveal a metal door that I'd never seen before.
Milo! Hey, Milo! Where are you, boy? Wow. A secret room. What was in there?
The room was a cold storage unit. I'd never known about it all my months of working with him. He unlocked it and ushered me inside. I remember the shock, mostly, and the smell. There were 4 bodies laying on metal exam tables covered in thin white sheets. Panic started to rise, and every muscle in my body was ready to run, but a certain curiosity held me back. He walked to the first body and looked at me before lifting the sheet. It was a Caucasian male, about 40, bloated and extremely pale. His skull had been opened and sewn shut again, and there were pins sticking into his scalp. There was a speaker in his mouth, stretching his lips abnormally wide. The second body Vincent uncovered was a Middle Eastern female, no older than 30, who I could tell had been beautiful before she was hacked up. The third one was very thin, probably someone who suffered from anorexia. She was definitely less bloated than the others, but that could have been because the body was fresher. At this point, my mind was spinning and it felt hard to breathe. Vincent barely showed any emotion at all, probably just trying to gauge my reaction. He did hesitate slightly before revealing the last body, though. I couldn't tell what it had been. The entire head had been removed. Instead of a neck, there was a metal pole sticking out from between the shoulders, and mounted on top of it was a large, cone-shaped speaker. More like a megaphone or a siren than a speaker, really. The body was completely emaciated. The skin was leathery, almost like it had been mummified.
I'm gonna stop you right there. This long-winded speech of yours really just boils down to your buddy creating this monster. That's all it is, isn't it?
There's more to it. Really, we...
We? What do you mean, we?
Just listen. Right after he showed me all of that, he explained the project to me. He needed help, he said. The two of us were doing all that we could, but it wasn't enough. There was still enormous suffering, even within our immediate community. Through this loss of life, he said he could build something useful, bodies to help aid us if he could reanimate them. This was going to be his greatest achievement, and he asked me to help him. He said he was very close to finishing the project, and he was sure his next one would work, but the operation would be delicate and lengthy. He needed me.
So what? You're in love with this guy, and you just do anything he asks?
It was complicated. I didn't say yes right away. I said I'd need time to think it over, which he agreed to. I knew it was disrespectful to the people whose bodies he used. I knew it was unnatural. Seriously, kid, I was torn about it. I couldn't sleep at night. My devotion to him and my belief in his work were pitted against this grotesque and extremely illegal project. But he procured a body just a couple days later, and when he called on me to step up, I just couldn't refuse.
Procured a body? Jesus, did you never ask where he got them from?
Of course I did. I had a lot of questions. So many that I thought he would accuse me of prying and throw me out of his office, or worse. But he was always patient and answered every question with the same calm logic he used that first night. The bodies were from a colleague of his. With the number of people that he helped, he'd won a ridiculous amount of favors and trust in the community.
And why the speakers?
Oh, the muscles used to create speech are much harder to control than muscles in your arms or legs. These things didn't need to talk much, but if they were going to interact with our patients, they need to speak a little. So the speakers were easier than trying to get their mouths to work. Well, we only accomplished that once. On him. I wasn't even in the room for that part. He asked me to step out, but the rest of the operation was grueling. Prepping the body took nearly 20 hours, and then we had to remove the head, attach the sirens, string wires around, graft muscle onto metal, cover the really gross-looking parts with extra skin. It felt more like an installation than an operation in some ways. We pumped that body full of steroids, had it attached to huge monitors, used electric charges. It was so experimental. I had no idea how he came up with these techniques, if you could even call them that.
So I was right. You made it.
Sure, we both did. I felt conflicted the entire time, but once the thing came to life, you have to understand, I thought this would only lead to good things, less suffering. I was proud to some extent. At first, it seemed to go really well. We would give it simple commands and it would listen. We just kept him in his office doing little tasks under supervision. Then, I think, Vincent went back and worked on him a little more without me. He started growing. And by all laws of logic, that shouldn't have happened. He wasn't truly, really alive. At least at first. He became more violent and hard to control, and one day he just broke through the wall of the office and ran off. We tracked him down to this wooded area, and it wasn't hard. He created this path of destruction wherever he went. It wasn't anything like he does now, though. He was only about 10 feet tall at the time. When we found him, he was blundering around in circles and spouting nonsense from his sirens. He seemed confused, honestly. It was all just radio static and the occasional word jumble. Vincent and I tried to talk to him, but he either didn't understand us anymore or didn't care what we were saying. Eventually, Vincent decided he was a lost cause and wanted to try again with a sixth body. But by that point, I was thoroughly horrified at what our creation had become. I told him I was out. I couldn't continue the project anymore. And I've spent all my years since then tracking Siren Head, trying to figure out how to undo my mistake.
Milo, there you are. Good boy, Milo. you have any idea what grief you've brought people? I lost my whole family because of this thing. Who knows what it's done to other people in the 12 years since then?
You think I haven't thought about that? I've spent my whole life trying to make up for what I did.
How could you create something you had no control over?
But we did! I don't know what Vincent did to it after that first operation. That's what made us lose control.
It sounds like you're trying to tell yourself you're not to blame. Like you weren't responsible for everything it's done.
No, that's not true at all! Please, you have to help me!
I don't think so. You killed my mother.
Thanks for watching the video. We are super excited to continue our Siren Head story. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out our merch store at newscapepro.com. We also have a Patreon page that comes with all kinds of sweet perks. If you want to see your name on this list, check out the Patreon link in the description below. Chuko, Michael, Matthew, Pumpkin Pyromaniac, Rio, That Saxophone Guy, Blake, Dylan, Scorpion, Illy, and Martin are our top supporters this week. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all next week for a very highly requested SCP.